dating in your mid to late 20s. I have turned on this camera so many times to make this video. Hello guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another video. Like I said, this video has been a bit of a journey because what do you say about dating in your mid to late 20s? Oh. I don't even know where to start. Okay, I'll start by explaining why I look like this. I've been waiting for a good time to make this video when I'm like dolled up but also don't have plans, and then I realised I only get dolled up if I have plans. So the days I'm dolled up I haven't had time to film the video. But you know what, also false advertising, because this is what I look like. This is who I am. This is what I look like, so you're gonna have to deal with it, I'm sorry. But yes, dating in your mid to late, every time I say it, it makes me laugh. Who am I to make this video? I have no idea. You know, the video where I said I was going on a date did really well, so thank you for that. I was really happy to see that people enjoyed it. Maybe it's something people can relate to, I'm not sure. But yeah, if you haven't seen that video, I'll link it in the eye. But basically, a little bit of a rundown. I've been single now since September 2022. I do still live with my ex-boyfriend, which, let me tell you, it's quite inconvenient. Yeah, that is a factor in my life. Currently we are still living together, nearly 11 months after we broke up. Bit of context, so my ex and I started dating when we were 20, and pre then I hadn't really gone on any dates. I think I went on a couple of like blind dating app dates, and then my ex was actually a blind dating app date, so obviously met him. Then we were together, what, 5.5, 6 years. Lived together for 4, bought the house last April, and still live together now. So there really isn't a lot of room for dating in that timeline, in case you can't tell. But I did go on my first date recently, last month in July. It was with someone that I'd met a couple of times on a work basis, and then we kind of had the discussion about going on a date. So yeah, it wasn't a completely blind date, but it definitely was like a first date. And I was very nervous. Again, if you haven't seen that video, I was a wreck, really. I was, you know, it was just so alien to me. It had been obviously, you know, 6-7 years since I went on my last first date. So yeah, where are we now? I'm 26 years old. I'll be 27 in October. 27 on the 27th actually of October. And yeah, little to no dating experience, which I'm absolutely fine with. I think if you go on one date and you meet the right person, you don't need to go on another first date. You know what I mean? Like, it's not something I feel like I need a badge of honour for. I don't feel like I want to be a serial dater. It's absolutely fine if that is for you, but let me tell you, I was so nervous about that first date. I wouldn't want to do that too often. But nevertheless, I say we all want to meet someone. Again, if you don't, that's absolutely fine. Not everyone does want to meet someone, and I've definitely gone through phases of not wanting to meet anyone ever again for as long as I live. But you know, eventually I do want to build a life with someone, or I don't know, I want to explore building a life with someone, whether it happens or not. So, you know, I'm trying to get back out there. I'm trying to get back out there. And I think this was kind of easing myself in because it was someone that I knew and had kind of socially interacted with prior. But yeah, the day of the date, very nervous, definitely very nervous. I wanted to talk a little bit about like image as well and getting ready for a date. So I did talk in that video, I was like fake tanning, I did a full like hair wash with my purple shampoos, purple conditioners, used all my Olaplex stuff, I painted my nails, had a full face of makeup, I spent ages doing my hair and picking my outfit. You don't have to do that. I haven't done that for this video. You don't have to do that ever for anyone, and if anyone makes you feel like you do, they're wrong. I did that for me 100%. I know I did that for me because that helps me to feel more confident and more comfortable, because like I said, it was a date with someone who I'd seen in a work context. In a work context, I didn't have my hair freshly washed, I didn't spend ages picking my outfit, I didn't spend hours on my makeup, I hadn't fake tanned, and he still liked me enough to go on a date with me. So there you go, ladies and gents. If that doesn't prove that that stuff doesn't matter. I wouldn't even have secured the date if that stuff was important. So yeah, just so you know, I didn't do all that stuff to make him like me on the date at all. I did it because it helped me to feel more confident and to feel my best self, and you know, so I could project that in my personality on the date. So yeah, getting ready for a date can mean whatever you want it to mean. For me, it did mean kind of glamming up and having an excuse to dress up and feel my best. For you, it might be, you know, listening to some really good music and hyping yourself up that way, or you know, having a drink. I'm not gonna demonize having a little glass of wine before a date if it helps calm your nerves, you know, within healthy boundaries, of course. But you know, whatever helps you feel your best self and helps you feel confident and happy and settled and mentally ready for the situation. And for me, that just happened to be, you know, a kind of physical projection, because that is when I feel my best. So yeah, in terms of getting ready for the day, whatever helps you to feel ready in stressful or high pressure situations. The date itself, so I can't really advise on that because, like I said, I haven't been on many. So my first date with my ex, we went for drinks. I think I went for drinks with someone else prior to that, which was also like a blind dating app date. Drinks seems to be pretty low-key, pretty kind of low pressure, I guess. There's no pressure on, you know, you're not waiting for your drinks to come, you get them straight away. So if you're getting bad vibes quickly, you can kind of nip that in the bud quickly, whereas a restaurant or like a booked activity, quite often a bit longer in experience and maybe a bit more difficult to get out of if it's going south. I did go for food on this recent date, which I felt quite comfortable doing because I knew the person, but whether that would be a bit much for a first date, for like a blind first date, I don't know. I think that's got to be a discussion between you two as a couple. I think activities can be nice as well, something like flight club or bowling if you like that kind of thing. Cinema I don't rate, just because you can't really talk, and I think first dates are all about kind of getting to know people, finding out what they're about, their interests, seeing if you've got kind of that common ground. But yeah, other than that, I do think it just comes on an individual basis. Like if you're into sports, you might want to do something sporty. So yeah, definitely just talk about it. Don't be afraid to say, you know, what do you think you should do, what kind of things you enjoy, not just, you know, get railroaded into doing something that isn't really you. You know, if you're teetotal and you don't drink and you're not comfortable being in a bar or a pub situation, say that. That's absolutely fine. Everyone's so different, and if someone's got an issue with that, bin them off early doors. You know, you don't need to entertain that. You don't need to entertain that. If they're not happy with your idea of fun, then you're never gonna have fun, so what's the point in dating? So that's kind of like date prep and then the actual date. But this video is more meant to be like a debrief. I'll debrief on my personal situation, but yeah, obviously already covered, not very experienced in knowing kind of what's a good date and not. But obviously I know the first date I had with my ex, we went on to have a relationship from that, and the first date I had with this man back in July, spoilers, but a relationship didn't come of that. So yeah, let me give you the rundown. So yeah, the recent date I had in July, I already knew we were going to get on because, like I said, we knew each other in a different context, and that was definitely the case. We got on in work, we got on over text, and then we did get on the date as well. There was no shortage of conversation. He was very polite, you know, he paid for my meal, which is really lovely. I didn't expect him to pay. I obviously offered to pay my half, but he insisted, which, you know, if he's in a position to do that, I'm very appreciative of that, and again, would never expect that, but you know, it was a really lovely offer. He shared a starter, always nice to, like, you know you've got a common interest in the food you're eating, I guess. You can talk about it, quite nice. We had mains, and then I shared a bottle of wine as well. And yeah, I don't think there weren't any awkward silences. You know, we did have good conversation, it was flowing. But kind of the next day I was reflecting on it, and I think a lot of the conversation was me telling him about my interests and then him telling me about his interests, there wasn't a lot of crossover. There wasn't a lot I could relate to in his interests. He's really into sports. If you know me at all, you'll know I know nothing about sports. And I'm really into music, and obviously my dance as well that I do, and he couldn't really relate to that kind of things, and we didn't have kind of a common ground when it came to interests, which I think sometimes works absolutely fine, but in this case it kind of, I don't know, it was kind of disappointing to me that we didn't have a lot of overlap in the interests when it came to kind of making good conversation. Obviously I knew we had the mutual interest in the work setting, but again, I'm not someone who really particularly likes to talk too much about my work in a social setting either, so we kind of didn't want to talk about the stuff we did have in common and then didn't have much else in common, which is a shame, but you know, that's just life, and I would never ask someone to pretend to be into stuff I'm into if they're not. So yeah, I think that was fair enough, and I think as time went on after the date, it just became more obvious to me that there was a bit of a disconnect. He said after the date, like the next day, I said I'm a big like let's have a debrief kind of person, and again, not everyone's into that, so that can be a bit of a put off I think, but I said, you know, how are you feeling after last night? And he kind of said, well yeah, I think it went well, I had a really nice evening, like I would like to see you again. And we kind of, you know, I think I said something like, yeah, we'll have to get a date in the diary, expecting him to then kind of suggest dates, and he didn't. We just kind of carried on with the conversation, and then I think about 2 weeks later, I'd been away for the weekend, he'd been away for the weekend, we'd been talking on and off by text. We hadn't like spoken on the phone or FaceTime or anything, just texting, which isn't my most favourite form of communication anyway. I'd much rather like FaceTime or call, but I know I'm quite unique for that. I think other people, if their phone rang, they would freak out. So I do get that that's not everyone's preference, but just, you know, text here and there, nothing major. And then I was like, it's been what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks since we said we were going to see each other, and yeah, we have kind of kept it going. It's been kind of simmering, I would say, but then I kind of said, you know, what are you up to this weekend? And as it happened, he wasn't free, which is fine, you know, again, wouldn't expect everyone to be free all the time. But he kind of said, well yeah, oh yeah, we need to get that second date in the diary though. And I was like, yeah and yeah, it just became kind of obvious to me that things didn't have the momentum that I was hoping they would after the first date. So I sent him a message explaining kind of how I was feeling. I just said I didn't feel the connection on the first date was overwhelmingly romantic, and I think for me that went hand in hand with kind of not having the shared interests. So I said, obviously I think he's lovely and I do think we get on, and I would be happy to see him again, but it would be more on a friends kind of basis. And I got a really lovely message back from him saying, yeah, I kind of thought the same thing. I thought a second date kind of might determine where it was going to go, but that's okay. Like, yeah, you don't have to feel bad. Like, it's good that you've been honest. And that has filled me with so much like confidence going forward, because I was always so worried, you know, what if I go on a date and I don't actually vibe with them? Like, do you say, how many dates do you give it? As much as I would have been happy to give it a second date, I just really felt like, you know, at that point we were 3.5 weeks on from the first date, and I was thinking to myself, you know, we're speaking nearly every day. I don't want to lead this person on and then actually have a second date that they're going into all guns blazing thinking everything's perfect because I've been texting them frequently, and then actually still not feel the vibes. And then what, do you have a third date and still not feel the vibes, and then suddenly you're married with 4 kids and you realise you're not vibing? Do you know what I mean? So that's something I was nervous for. So I'm actually glad in a way that I experienced a first date that didn't then go into a relationship or, you know, go into lots more dates or anything like that. I felt like it was quite important for me with the stage I'm at in my dating journey, to have that experience. So yeah, I hope that is kind of reassuring to you if you share the same worries as me, or you were thinking the same. You know, I think I can't stress this enough. His reply was so nice. Just be honest, people appreciate it so much. If it was me in that situation, yeah, it stings for a bit. When someone tells you you're not what they're looking for, it's gonna sting, but like, they might turn around and thank you like this guy did for being honest, you know. And I think Personally, I'd rather receive honesty than get into another relationship where you think everything's great and then it all falls apart, you know, and things could have been resolved, or, you know, you could have gone your separate ways a lot sooner before buying a house together. But we're not here to talk about that. But you know, I've been rambling, I can feel it, so I'm gonna do a little kind of final thoughts and wrap up. So dating in your mid to late 20s, minefield. I think the key thing to remember is every individual is so different, and I mean that for you and me and the person that you're going on a date with. So I think my first bit of advice would be, don't feel like you have to be someone you're not. If you're not someone who wears makeup and gets dressed up, don't feel like you have to wear makeup and get dressed up. My second key little summary piece of advice, discuss it together. You know, discuss an activity that suits both of you. I really see value in a little debrief. Again, not for everyone, but I think it just gets everything out in the open nice and early. So I quite like a little chat the next day of, so how did you feel that went for you? How are you feeling about it? And yeah, finally, I think don't feel pressure to have every date go perfectly and end up in a relationship. And if you're not feeling it, be honest early doors. We're adults now, you know, mid to late 20s. We have to take responsibility for ourselves and the feelings of other people. Obviously ourselves, #1 comes first. Hold yourself with respect and try and respect other people as best you can. Obviously, this whole video, if the guy you're on a date with is a monster or a serial killer or a misogynist or a homophobe or a racist, none of this applies. None of this applies. Immediately bin him off and block him on all socials. So yeah, there's been my debrief. I don't know why I said I'd do this video, because honestly, like, it's just goofy. It's just goofy. I'm just goofy. I don't know what I'm doing. Who am I to tell anyone else? But thank you very much for watching anyway. Even if you learn one thing, oh my gosh, it'll be a miracle. It'll be an absolute miracle. But yeah, I hope you enjoy coming on these journeys with me. Vlogging really helps, so if I haven't helped you, just know that you've helped me. Give this video a big thumbs up if you would be so kind, and like I said, subscribe, because there's lots more to come, I'm sure. I have no plans on going anywhere anytime soon. Wouldn't give you the satisfaction. And I will see you in my next video. Bye!